Landlords who've had their houses trashed by tenants are sharing the photos, and it can be absolutely shocking to those people who believe that tenants are always right. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting topic for you today, and it's going over the fact that there are bad tenants out there. Now, this is no surprise to us fellow landlords, okay? We know that there are tenants who will rip our properties apart. We've all experienced it. If you've been a landlord for a long enough time, you've experienced tenants who didn't maintain your property, who trashed the place. You've had thousands of dollars worth of damage sometimes. It's just something that we always go through. This is part of the reason our rents are so high, because we have to cover the losses that we take when a tenant trashes one of our properties. If tenants always maintained our properties, if tenants always paid their rent on time, guess what? Rents would be lower because we would have less risk we'd have to assume. Now, this is something that a lot of tenants, they don't understand. When you assume additional risk, well, that means costs are going to be higher. Costs are going to be higher because sometimes we face the consequences of assuming that additional risk. Okay, so when we rent to a tenant who has an eviction on their record, well, guess what? That tenant is less likely to pay, and when that tenant is less likely to pay, that means that we could face thousands of dollars worth of losses. So how do we cover those losses? We charge higher rents to all of our tenants, even the ones who always pay on time. This is something that these other tenants, they don't understand. This is part of the reason why I don't believe in stuff such as rent control or strong eviction protections that make it darn near impossible to remove a bad tenant. So the article I'm covering today, it's got 29 different stories from landlords, pictures of what happens to a tenant's property after they've trashed it. I mean, what happens to a landlord's property after a tenant has trashed it. So, I'm going to be going through some of these pictures. I'm not going to go through them all. 29 is quite a bit, but I'm going to show you some of the worst examples. And, believe me, I have had recently, very recently, within the last month, one of my properties get torn up by a bad tenant. So, hey, it happens to us all. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think, okay? Landlords out there, share some of your stories of having your properties destroyed, or just even if it's not absolutely trashed, just bad damage, okay? Believe me, the security deposit will not cover all of the damages a lot of the time. That's part of the reason I laugh at the people who say, oh, we should limit the security deposits. Well, you know what? We're taking thousands in losses, not you. So maybe we should be the ones who decide how much of a security deposit we need. Okay, so anyway, let's get into this article. This article is coming from boardpanda.com, and it says 29 landlords document the devastating condition of houses left by nightmarish tenants. Interview. And they cover a few stories here, and I'm going to look and try to cover the most interesting ones, and I'll throw the pictures up on the screen so that you can see exactly what they're talking about. So let's get into it. Say what you want, but dealing with peculiar tenants can be a challenging task for any landlord. However, nothing compares to the horror of encountering tenants from hell who leave properties in a state of unimaginable disarray after moving out. Such tenants often exhibit what may be described as a sheer lack of respect for the homes they temporarily inhabit, often leading to significant financial and emotional stress for the actual owners of the property. From littered rubbish and pen-scribbled walls to broken walls and even unintended pest infestations, the aftermath portrays a big amount of damage that can take months, if not years, to restore before the owners decide that enough is enough. Yeah, when smaller landlords experience this sort of stuff, this oftentimes drives them out of the business, okay? Now, for somebody like me, I've been doing this stuff for 10 plus years. I own, 16 rental units. I'm not going to quit just because bad tenant trashed my property. It sucks, yeah, but I'm not quitting because of it, because, I'm vested in it. This is my business. This is what I do, okay? So anyway, let's get on with the first one here. It says, number one, this will always be the most memorable reason for evicting a tenant. It says, "What the cluck?" And then it has some of the comments here, and I'll throw the image up on the screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. But here's some of the comments. "What the cluck? Let us leave, human. We come in peace. Well, it was your fault for renting the chickens. Funny. Poor chickens. I can smell the picture." Yeah, and it's basically, you see that they basically turned the rental unit into a chicken coop, and they have, looks like a tarp laid down, and they have chickens running around. There's, fecal matter, just completely disgusting, right? That's pretty bad. But anyway, let's move on to the next one here. Number 2, surprise from a person renting a house from my 92-year-old grandmother. And then in it says it's P, okay? And as you can see from the picture, there are just an innumerable number of gallon jugs filled with, looks like pee, okay? And they completely fill up this room. Okay. Oh my goodness. I mean, that is just so disgusting. It's hard to believe that, like, if the toilet isn't working, then you need to call the landlord and we will get the toilet working, because I don't want to have to deal with this. I mean, this is obviously somebody who has serious mental health issues if they thought this was okay. Let's go to the third one here. It says, "It took 6 months to evict this tenant. His advocate has applied for me to return his damage deposit." And then, whoo, this picture. Oh my goodness. This bathroom alone is just so horrible that, I mean, there's no security deposit that is going to cover just the damage in this bathroom alone. Okay, so I can't even imagine what the rest of this house looks like. But man, oh man, yeah, you're not getting your security deposit back. You're not getting, this is part of the joke. Like, when you have these tenant advocates sitting here and they're, oh well, they need their security deposit back, and they're like, you have no clue the damage here, no clue. And yet the cities will be like, well, you need to make an itemized list of all the damages. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, you know what? I have to call repairmen in here, I have to call cleaners in here, I have to call all these people in here. And any moron who just takes a quick glance could be like, yeah, well, there's more than $1,000 worth of damage in here. There's more than your security deposit worth of damage in here. Just by taking a quick glance. I don't have to call 40 repairmen to figure that one out. It says, number 4, just a warning about trusting friends and not doing regular inspections. And as you can see from these pictures, oh, wow. It looks like they were using the bathtub as a toilet. They never washed dishes. There's trash everywhere, you know. And there's a little bit of text underneath here. It says, just a warning about trusting friends and not doing regular inspections. Tenant was a friend of wife, paid mostly on time, never had any problems or called for anything. Was here 3 years before not renewing lease due to rent increasing. She always had an excuse not to inspect. Wrong. Yeah. So yeah, this is a good example here of why just cause eviction protections don't work. Okay, because this tenant always paid on time. So you would need a just cause to remove this tenant. Take a look at this place. This is disgusting. Yet, you wouldn't be able to remove this tenant because they'd be like, oh, well, the tenant's always paying on time, so therefore this doesn't fall under one of the just causes that would justify removing the tenant. Like, the tenant was using the bathtub as a toilet, man. Come on. Give me a break. Oh my goodness. Number 5, the tenant moved out. This is what they left behind. Wow. Holes in the wall, drawing all over the walls and doors. Yeah, just absolutely bad. Like honestly, this one isn't too bad. Like a little bit of kills, white paint, some drywall repair, you know, inexpensive door replacement. I mean, this is, a couple $100 to repair this. It's pretty bad when if you're a landlord and you're just like, yeah, you see a place that's trash. This isn't that bad, but this is the way we look at properties. Okay, we can go in there and we can differentiate between major structural damage, major cleanup, and minor cleanup, paint and flooring. Like those are, like when you see a house that's really, really badly damaged, okay. But when you see a place and it's got, like drawing on the walls and, I mean, like the door, you might not even have to replace it. You could probably just paint the door, paint over the drawings that they put on it. Yeah, like I said, a little bit of drywall repair will fix most of that drawing that's on the drywall. I mean, it's not that bad, really. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, the tenant tore the place up, but I mean, it could be a lot worse. That's what I've always said. Like look at it from the perspective of, well, it could be worse. So yeah, one of the things that I've had to do, I've written off a lot of these repairs and costs that I've had on my taxes, right? This is part of the reason why landlords have very low tax bills, because we have a lot of expenses and we can write off all of this stuff, right? All of these damages, etc. And so, when you talk to landlords, a lot of them, they just don't pay much taxes at all. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing because we are reinvesting back into our properties. We are providing jobs to the community. And, when we get bad tenants who tear our properties up, yeah, it can be very, very costly, but hey, we got to do what we got to do. And there still are ways to make good money doing this. I bring up articles like this because I want to show I want to show tenants that, hey, you don't know how bad some tenants are. Okay. For all the advocates out there who think landlords are evil, they don't get a good look at what we have to deal with all the time. And that's what this article is showing here. I'll put a link to the article down in the description. You'll have to check it out. They have 29 different pictures here. I just showed a few of them, but this is a good example of what we have to go through.